was one question that you had to ask a principal or a school management to convince them about joining ISA, what would that question be? So it's almost like that kind of a question. So what about the experienced people here? You face this all the time about convincing a school. So are there any tips from the experienced ambassadors?
No,
what would you tell them?
It's better the management also, one of the members of the management attends the meeting and the principal. Then most of the problems can be solved, whether they are willing to spend money on making a dossier or maybe like any other thing connected to that. Yeah.
In some cases it's not possible for the head teachers or the principal to attend the meeting. It's all in the hands of the teachers who come and attend the briefing session by the British Council.
So then how do you deal with it then? I mean, you must have some example of how you would have done it.
We've been doing ISA, 3 ISA in a row. They know pretty well the advantages of the British Council school programs.
So what about a new school? An absolutely new school that has perhaps not done anything with British Council?
To start on with the competitions that British Council has come out with students first.
What if I have come thinking that I definitely want to convince this school to take on ISA this year itself?
You need to meet the head again separately. Whether they come to the meeting or not, you must go and meet them.
Okay.
It makes a difference.
I'm just trying to give all kinds of scenarios because this is what happens. At times we know that we are going out there, and obviously the same thing for British Council as well. We want to also get schools involved in other aspects of our work and slowly guide them towards International School Award. At times, we know that we want to get more schools on board in a particular year, and therefore, we know that this is our only chance to get that school or lose that school entirely. So there are all kinds of scenarios even when you as ambassadors go out. And I think how to convince a school, you will find there are always various kinds of situations. There is no one particular way to go about it. So every time there will be a different situation. Every time the response you get from the school will be very different. But certainly, one thing is that we have standardized the briefing that we have for ISA. So you're not going to be talking something which is very different from another BCSA about the merits of the program itself, or about how the school needs to go about it, or what is the reason why schools need to pay a registration fee. So there are certain questions which have standard answers, which should allow you to deal with some of those queries very confidently. But again, those subtle issues about how to convince a school, they may start doubting your intention in asking that school to come on board. Those are things which a lot of you have faced, at least in your initial, when you started going out as ambassadors, especially to promote ISA. So any other tips anybody would like to share?
Arm them with our challenges.
Yes, and then perhaps you can start listening to each of the experienced
diversity, no?
and I'm sure some of your worries should get dissipated while you're listening to them. But otherwise, we will look at, because obviously all the other ambassadors were in your shoes once upon a time. So let's see how they respond to your queries or your worries. But no responses at the moment. We'll just hear them out. Yeah. So would a couple of you want to come forward and talk through your...
We all look like fishes out of water, and we have a lot of people who have done it a number of times. And so, in our travel from Bangalore, we were asking each other, what did you do? And the first concern that comes to our mind is that do we become a LIC agent kind of a person, catching a lot of people come join the ISC. So that is the biggest worry. But before that, let us tell you about the aspiration of my group. Well, the aspiration is to be truly an ambassador, to reach out to as many schools as possible, sharing information about programs on Connecting Classroom and the ISA, on issues benefiting students and professional development, and of course networking. It's no more a bad word to network, so networking. Well, some of the concerns that all of us had, one was that how to convince schools to join ISA. Because we had one ISA meeting in my school when we were joining ISA. So the first thing everybody asks is, when are we going for an exchange program? Where is the fund coming? So everybody thinks it's a free holiday. So that's a difficult thing which we await our, the experienced people to tell us about. is there a target? So, and what if we don't meet the target? Are we thrown out? So that's why we said a lot of question marks. How to overcome frequent traveling issues and pressures from school. You know, there will be times when we might have to have the ISA sessions as ambassadors, and how to keep a balance of that. And the questions to our very erudite crowd here. How did you manage a balance between school and the BCSA work? And some challenges. Yeah. You're not answering. You're not answering.
That was quite an answer. I should have said no emotional gestures allowed at all.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be giving any answers now. Some challenges they faced and how they overcame. I mean, we are looking for solutions.
Into the ISA fold this year, and it was expanded in the sense, number one, the success rate has been mostly 1/3. Like you address about 20 schools, and then at least 8 of them have registered. That's what the team members have shared, number one. And the second is, we used a larger platform this year. Being Sahodhya cluster chairpersons, like our principal is the chairperson, we have 25 schools in that wing. We were able to successfully use the meetings of the Sahodhya to introduce ISA briefings. That is a huge advantage, and I would kind of, take it across saying that each one can search for such opportunities to share with the other principals. And definitely all of us are being identified as a British Council ambassador, which is a huge advantage, and you feel, your responsibility enhanced because of that. You feel really responsible. The challenges, ma'am?
Yes. Attrition of ISA coordinator.
Well, I must expand on this. I was seriously working with 2 schools. I'd almost set the action plan, and then I found the principal telling me, sorry, the ISA coordinator has left our school. And that's it. That just stopped the work. We couldn't continue with that.
Challenge of finding or linking schools with a partner.
Yeah, that's fine. Please continue.
The deadlines of ISA action plans clash with the key months of academic year.
Especially that April, May, one period when we don't have enough resource in school to support you, and one period when you're just winding up the year in school, and too many deadlines both from the school that needs our support and from our own school expecting our work.
Then schools hesitant about printing cost.
I must expand on this. Like we had a friend from Kerala where I believe the minute he's introducing, they just looked at his dossier as a specimen, and then, oh God, we need to do so much. And there was one school who were not willing to, they'd done all the work, but they were not willing to go into printing because they didn't have the authority. The IC coordinator is not necessarily an administrative head. And unless you're budgeted, this is a very serious need. If you are an ISA coordinator, we need to budget the implication of the ISA work so that it's approved by the management, and then you don't have any hassles at the end of it. So it took him a lot to impress upon that school to go ahead with the printing cost and submit it. It takes about 30,000 to 40. I know that the British Council is not expecting us to put in a lot of money into printing, but in the end, since we are all very keen to give the best presentation, we do go about it. So therefore, connected to that, I would like to take forward, in this tech-savvy world and with so many online courses, British Council is an example, standing example to that. Can British Council accept online submissions of ISA dossiers?
We're jumping into the next part of our session, which is exactly about this. So we'll talk about it.
Matching up
Yes.
to our expectations,
Yes.
that's how we thought maybe this could be a very important suggestion to British Council. And British Council, last the ambassadors meet, we had kind of planned that could we have SMS alerts. It does help you network through SMS because you just at times you let go your deadlines. You need to keep being reminded about connecting classrooms, the opportunities or your ISA deadlines, and to create an online portal of all the teachers participating in the professional development courses. Yes, one-to-one smaller groups are networked as of today, but then can it be a larger platform where a lot of sharing and helping takes on? Yes, ma'am?
Then follow-up mail to heads of the schools after such meetings, after we conduct meetings over here. If mails are sent to the heads of the institution, it would be.
This
is, just to clarify, it's head of the institution from where the ambassador is coming, or
Yes,
is it
yes,
school
yes.
that
No,
are
no,
Yes,
your-
yes.
your own
Head
school?
Our own
of the
school.
school.
where we represent,
It's
so
almost
that they
like
feel the responsibility and they're keen to say, okay, this is what is expected from my bcsa, my ambassador, and probably through the year she'll be working through like this, and they know the importance of such meetings.
Then use of British Council library as a venue.
Happened actually.
Of what has already happened.
We were lucky to be the first.
We were the
She was the
first
lucky
ones.
first, so now you know why I would like to go first. So anyway, we'll just tell about one is the recognition which our school gets as a bcsa. It's utmost pride and prestige for us when we stand out and say yes, our school is anything to beat. Another is that as a bcsa we also feel that not only are we able to influence the life of our own children, but also to be able to reach out and to do justice to many other children and to different strata of society, whether it is through ISA, whether it's through connecting classroom. That feeling of to be able to mentor so many other teachers who are grappling with small issues. It's a very wonderful feeling. I can't express more about it, and everybody in my team supports me in that. Challenges, yeah, some of them. Time management, I think it's like a tough juggle at times because you're doing your own work, you've got other things, then evening is the time when we take on those mentoring calls and like she said, we have people come over. I prefer to do it. There are times you just kind of those gray areas, so sometimes you feel there is lack of time for yourself, and that's how it is. And then some of the other challenges, last minute dropouts, like they say, we'll come, and then we book the place and we get all the arrangements done and then say, oh, we couldn't come, the principal is busy with something. Here a request to you guys is that first orientation meeting should be made mandatory for the principals. Otherwise, they think it's a teacher who gets into it and it's her responsibility to get that entire project going. No, ISA is a whole school commitment towards a bigger paradigm shift in the way you're learning in classrooms. So it's not just an ISA coordinator, not an English teacher. Some leadership profile who has a lot more, because then when she said about printing out, there are times like I had a school which came in which has a principal who is a part-timer, comes in twice or thrice a week, and there is a vice principal who quit, and the ISA coordinator is an English teacher who's again a part-timer, comes in 3 half days. So imagine the status of the school. So
Part-time school,
I'm going, what do I do with these people? So these are kind of things. So unless you have the head coming in, sorry.
Support them
Imagine.
Good package is part-time.
I think SMS is the way to go. Even email sometimes in our classrooms and things like that, it gets tough. So if we can have something like that. And thanks for the visiting cards. But if an ID proof, let's say I'm conducting a school gathering where I can have an ID proof which says I'm a British Council representative.
You mean a badge like that? Is that what you mean by
Yeah,
ID?
something like
Yeah,
that which
a pin-up badge like
validates
this you
my
could put.
being a representative not of my own school but of British Council. Makes it much more effective. I could just be carrying it around myself, but then it brings about that validity that I'm not just from another school, because the moment I come from another school they say, oh, if I put in my best teachers, she'll probably grab them and take her to her school. So that
Engage other teachers from other school because they are the competitor in the same place.
Yeah, it is academic
But
in
ultimately,
nature.
won't you end up revealing your identity anyway? I mean, it's fine. I understand your point entirely. But I think you can't shy away from the fact that you do represent a school as well. But in this particular role, you are coming as a British Council
yes.
school
No, when,
ambassador.
what I do normally is when I call up, I say I'm a British Council representative over phone, and then when they come in for the orientation, that's when I say, okay, this is what they give us in recognition for the work we've done, in terms of ISA, in terms of connecting classrooms. At that time, they appreciate, but even then,